listeners, welcome back to another episode of the Keystone Chronicles podcast. With us this week, the Lehigh Valley Fishing boys come through, spitting some fly fishing facts, and we had one hell of a time recording this episode. Guys, you got to go check out the fish that Ben and Eddie are catching on Lehigh Valley Fishing. Absolute monsters with beautiful colors. And if you know me, you know that I'm a trout bum, trout connoisseur, whatever you want to call it, man. I love trout fishing in this beautiful state that we have. And these guys, they enjoy it too. So if you're down for a little fly fishing talk here and talking about catching some absolutely monster trout, I think you'll really enjoy this one. As for me, man, you know, the trout fishing has been really, really wonderful, and I hope that you guys are out there getting your rods out and getting in the water. Behind that, turkey season's just around the corner. I want to wish you guys all good luck. Don't be afraid to reach out to all of the fine vendors that have been on this show that produce turkey calls and hunt these birds. They are willing and ready to help you. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoy this episode as much as I did. God bless. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Keystone Chronicles podcast. With us this week, we got the Lehigh Fishing guys. I got Ben and Eddie here with us. And guys, I stumbled upon them not too long ago via the social media and on the Devil Box there. And I'm telling you what, some of these fish, I'm impressed. I am very impressed. You guys are younger guys. So let's start with you, Ben. Do a little introduction, and then Eddie will hand it off to you.
Okay. Obviously, I'm Ben. I grew up in Ohio, and I started fishing probably since I was 3 or 4 at my aunt and uncle's lake house with my mom and dad. Moved here in 2014, and that's where him and I kind of started doing trout, and we've been doing it ever since.
Good deal. Good deal. And what do you got, Eddie? Do me a little introduction here. Who you are, man?
All right, well, I'm Eddie, like I said. I've been fishing forever, man. My parents, we had a cabin up in the Poconos.
Nice.
You know, they taught me the ropes. I had a grandfather who passed. He was huge into fishing. He used to tell me all his fishing stories. And then my dad's dad, I mean, he's an avid outdoor man, avid hunting, avid fishing. And then my mom's husband, he got me into fly fishing, and man, he took me underneath his wing, showed me the ropes, and I've been fishing ever since I could put my 2 feet on the ground. I've been going at it, and I love it. It's the best thing on earth, and there's nothing like it. I love fishing. It's my thing.
How did you guys become friends, man? What's the background behind that?
Well, like I said, I moved here in 2014, and we played football all throughout, like Pee-wee sports all the way to high school. That's kind of how we met. And after that, once summer sports kind of came to a close, we started fishing in the fall. And then just kind of ever since, once trout season opens, it's just kind of been a tradition ever since.
Nice. So you guys usually spend the first day together?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think we've missed a year.
Nice. What's the tradition? You guys go to the same place, or?
Yeah, we go up to my cabin up in the Poconos. And,
nice.
You know, we wake up early. I mean, this year it's kind of cold, kind of raining, so we were like, man, we got to get up. There's going to be people out there. The weather's nice. I got out there, and we were the only ones on the creek. We were like, heck yeah, this is good. And we were standing there pouring 6:30 in the morning, cracking jokes, having a good time, just enjoying it. And
that's awesome. Time. That's awesome, man. That was a good opening day for me also. It was like I went out, and I'm thinking, there's going to be people everywhere, and No, there wasn't, and I had a lot of fun. We ended up taking my daughter to a creek, and she caught her first trout, and she's reeling it in, and we get it up out of the water, and what does she say? She says, "Oh, that's baby shark." So it was a lot of fun, and now Dad catches a lot of baby sharks, and some of them actually come home and make it to the fillet board, and now we eat baby shark too, so.
Very nice.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
That's what it's all about.
It is. It's a lot of fun, man. So I just want to ask you guys kind of how the fishing is right now.
You got to go ahead.
Yeah, I could touch on that a little bit. Around where we were at, up near school where we go, I mean, the fishing's pretty hot. The weather's picking up, hatches are coming off. Uh, the blue wing olive hatch in Pennsylvania, Hendrickson's are absolutely insane. So when they start coming off, man, the fishing gets great. The fly guys, the fishing's here. You know, the spinner heads are on them, they're cracking them. It's time to pull out the fly rods when you're going to get them. A little power bait might work, but it's time for the flies. Lately, it's been pretty good. Water temps, they're right where you want them. So it's been good. We've been doing well. So
Yeah. So when you guys are fishing, this time of the year, are you guys focusing on certain types of streams? And what I mean by that is, if you go to a stock stream, are you guys, hey, we want to chase these rainbows, these big PB or these big rainbows, or these big hook jaw browns, or are you guys more like a blue line chaser, brook trout connoisseur kind of guys?
We kind of, it really depends on the day. Like we'll wake up sometimes early in the morning. I know last weekend we went out, and in the morning we were like, yeah, we're just gonna go try and catch some stock fish, and ended up not working. And then we just started targeting wilds and stuff like that, and it ended up being a good day. So it really just kind of depends. You just got to go with the flow.
Yeah. Yep, I'd agree with that. Sometimes what I've run into is I'll go to, like the west side of where I live, and maybe if it rained or something and the water's muddy, and it's weird because then I'm like, you know what, screw it, I'm going to go to the east side of where I live, and it's clear as day,
Yep.
or just a wee bit murky, and that's perfect fishing conditions. But along with that, out you guys' way, I think it's a little warmer than it is here. And you guys usually able to fish like into late June? Okay.
yeah, the limestone creeks, they stay cold. The spring-fed creeks,
Right.
they stay cold. I always tell people is, you're fishing when it gets hot in the summer. I know a lot of guys are against it. There's to a certain point I'm against it too.
Yep.
But you use a rubber net. You don't really hold them. We use really small flies. I'm talking grab the fly. You don't touch the fish. Maybe you cup the fish with the rubber net.
Nice.
Pop out that fly. The fish is back in the water.
Yep.
When you start handling them, you start throwing them around. When it gets hotter out, then you're playing with fire. But if you know how to handle them and you respect the fish, they'll be all right.
Yep.
But there is a certain temperature you gotta watch.
Yeah.
So.
A little bit different temperature for the type of trout that you're after, as far as how they get lethargic or how you're going to burn the oxygen out of them. But that's a great point. Handling trout is something I see either people get straight up just burnt online for touching a trout,
Yep.
or or they know what they're doing and they do a good job of. If they don't have a net, maybe they're wetting their hands before they touch it. Or
I think that's a huge thing because the oils on your hands takes that silky kind of like sliminess off them, and that's like their like mucus, like protecting coat that really protects the fish. If you take that off of them, that hurts them. But anymore, I haven't seen somebody this year really mishandle a trout. I think people are starting to really start to respect the outdoor a little more.
Yeah. Yeah, I could agree with that a lot. I think that there's been a change and shift in that. People are a little more educated on the catch and release method. I know that I sort of, I won't keep a wild or a native trout, and usually you can tell the difference.
Yep.
There are times where maybe you do keep a wild trout, like a wild brown or like a wild rainbow. Usually, like I said, you can kind of, but maybe you make a mistake and you do keep one, or vice versa. Maybe you think one is a native or a wild brown, and you do release it. But what do you guys do whenever you approach a new stream? Like, how would you go about that? Are you guys on Onyx? Are you looking for a new stream? Are you asking around? How do you guys go about a new stream? And then when you do find a new stream, what's the first method of approach? You guys chase each other to the stream, and then whoever's fastest gets the first cast in the honey hole, or what goes on here?
A lot of it, how we find new streams, we try and get as many connections as you really can. Like he started knowing a guy named Keith. He's a big guy around here. He does guide trips and stuff like that. He kind of showed us the ropes in some aspects and showed us some new places. So it kind of helps having that older generation kind of show you around and show you what to do.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's, we were just talking about it right before we come on, We, as outdoorsmen as a whole, are under attack for whatever reason that I can't understand. But at the same time, what's going on with us is we're not only under attack from a lot of maybe, I don't want to get political, but maybe some left-wing establishments or more radical establishments. I just want to say left-wing, where, you guys are hurting the fish. You heard it, right? And these people need to be educated, and this is the only way to do it. You have to tell them the truth and tell them what's really going on, and tell them how, if you do kill a trout or a fish or whatever you got, how you do ethically do that, and then also how you do ethically catch and release, and that these fish aren't getting hooked and screaming, ouch, we're in pain, right? So it's a war that's worth fighting for us, and we're going to do whatever we can to keep the sport out ahead of us. And I think the best way to start with that is to keep politicians out of the biology aspect of everything, because I'm not a biologist either. I'll give you my point of view on how I think that we should regulate things, but that doesn't mean I know what I'm talking about. So, I know that we touched on what kind of trout you guys are fishing. Ben, what's your favorite trout to catch if you're having a dream and it's a great dream? What's the trout that you're bringing in?
I would probably definitely say a wild brown. Nothing quite fights just like a wild brown does. You can catch big rainbows all day, but you can get size like 14-inch wild brown, and they're pulling it like they're 23 inches. So I would definitely say wild brown.
Nice. Eddie, what about you, man? What do you got?
I'd have to second that, brother. I mean, I put my biggest one in the net earlier this winter. I put a 23-incher in the net, and it was an absolute stud. Had 5-inch freaking fins. Beautiful fish. Female, she probably laid anywhere close to 2,000 eggs. I went upstream the next day, so, well, the male's got to be here. They just got done spawning. 2 casts, funk, there's the male. 20-incher. I mean, they're so cool. Their colors are unbelievable. Those fins, there's nothing like them. I mean, catching a freaking slap 22-inch rainbow is absolutely crazy. But I'd catch an 18-inch wild brown with the most insane colors I've ever seen in our life over that all day. But, that's me. But that's how we are. We enjoy our wild fish. I mean, another thing, too, is the wild fish, they start this big. They start as big as my thumb. And that fish I caught, that thing's anywhere from 12 to 14 years old. And, the stream I was fishing, it gets a lot of pressure. So to catch that fish in there, it was so rewarding, and it was unbelievable. So the wild fish, just that's where it's at for us for sure.
I think you make a great point. We were just talking about keeping them, and like say you were to go out and kill a wild brown that was 14 to 16 inches, you might be looking at a 9 to 10-year-old fish, right?
Yep.
That's pretty wild. And then literally, to live in that environment, and just think of the amount of predator tracks that you see around the water, right? Maybe blue herrings or the ducks and the beavers and the
blue herrings are the fish killers, man.
You know it, man. Yeah,
there's plenty of them out here.
They're loaded.
We got them too. One of these days, maybe we'll see a season come in on them bad boys, and it'll be it'll be no holds bar on them freaking dinosaurs, man. They're like pterodactyls.
That's a mount right there.
Oh yeah, that would be one hell of a mount. I tell you what, I can envision it right now. I would have the bird standing there, and it'd be like beak down in the water, and I'd have some freeze-dried minnows underneath like a piece of plexiglass or something like that, right?
Yeah, that'd be neat.
That would be pretty cool, man. I'm a big mount fan, so I could definitely appreciate that. So, let's move on to, if you guys are going up to a body of water, right? We're getting to tactics just a little tiny bit here, and what do you start with? You know, you're going to locate a trout in the water. I know that this is really hard to talk about because there's so many different aspects of what you're going to see, right? You got like me, what I prefer. So just make this easier. I prefer like a heavy undercut, or I prefer like a real nice eddy in the stream that kind
Hmm.
of starts fast and then tapers off into a hole, and then kind of maybe if I can even see where it comes back up, you know, to where it gets a little bit like more shallow. And I kind of know like right around the backside of that undercut where it's getting just a higher a little bit. I know that that's where probably the biggest trout's laying, but
Yep.
um, I'll let you take off with that. Just kind of give me what you see whenever you're looking at water.
All right, well, I can probably cover that a little bit. We both do the same exact thing. Me personally, when I first walk up to a stream, Ben's the same way. We've been doing it like this. Like I said, we had a lot of mentors teach us, but we are self-taught also. One thing I learned, we both learned, you first walk up to that water, I don't care if it's a 6 foot deep hole, a foot deep hole, don't step in the water right away. I'm all about ankle deep,
Right.
and you're fishing to run close to you first, because sometimes those fish are feeding shallow. You walk in, guess what? There could be a 20-inch sitting there, and it's gone.
Oh yeah.
So I always say you fish close, and then you work your way out. You find out where the fish are. We walked in. I mean, I walked in, polarized sunglasses. I step. There's 20 of them, and they're gone. There's sometimes I step in. I'm fishing close, nothing, working my way out. A favorite thing to fish is definitely a riffle that's just coming off at a good, solid pace. And those eddies, like you were just talking about, I mean, the fish, they like to sit next to those. That's where some dry flies, they like to sit there. They come up, feed, and they're right back in the run. So, I mean, runs with any kind of like bubble,
Yeah.
like the current makes a bubble,
Dead
the oxygen.
giveaway.
Oh, man. When you see that bubble, you can get like we float fish, European fishing's huge too. Anytime you can get your flies lined up with that seam and that bubble coming down,
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I'm talking about, the white bubbles coming down the creek. You can line up your stuff. That's where the trout are sitting. That's where they're feeding. And that's where you got to get your flies down too.
Yep. Yep. You make a great point. Ben, do you want to touch on anything there?
Just kind of what he was saying. You can definitely tell when there's a seam in the water. Sometimes there's even a color difference in like the depth or the amount of substrate at the bottom that gets pushed around by that. Like if there's a rock in the water and that water's going around it, and there's definitely going to be amount of substrate that's going to be down there compared to if it was still water. There's definitely going to be like more sand and smaller stones behind that big rock, and you're definitely going to be able to tell the difference in the water.
Yeah. Yeah. I've found that in your like uh, more shallow streams with the smaller pebbles in the back, you know, come time where the water gets a little tiny bit warmer, you know, not too warm. I found larger trout for whatever reason laying there in the early mornings
Hmm.
or in the evenings. You know,
Yeah, they're feeding.
yeah, they're probably feeding, and
That's
that's
another thing too. Like when we were talking about different color of water, me personally, some riffles are coming down pretty hot. So a foot off the riffle, it's clear, but there's that little tint of like green, or it's a little bit darker off that riffle, and I guarantee you the fish are sitting in that. Sometimes they'll be sitting in the clear, but 90% of the time they're gonna be in that little tint of green that's coming off the water,
yeah.
or that little dark spot. That's where they're sitting and hiding.
I feel like, and you know, this is just me. Just I'm whispering to the trout whenever I'm finding this information out. But it's like they adapt with their camouflage. Like, and they know
Yep.
if they're over here where it is super clear and there's no underbase or nothing to them, they're sticking out like a sore thumb. But if they get over where them leaves are sitting and it's that greenish tint, you know, it's so hard to see them. And I feel like,
Yep.
Yeah, that's like the wild browns, undercut rocks.
right,
Oh my, you won't even know they're there.
Yeah.
They'll tuck themselves under.
about
Good
rip
luck.
about rip the rod out of your hand.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, they smack it. That's why they're so fun.
Oh yeah.
I've caught a lot of brookies doing the same thing. You know, I think the thing with the brook trout is that I love the most is it's like you cast in and they get so excited and they're all fired up and
Yep.
I just
Yeah, they're definitely very aggressive fish.
I agree.
They're definitely. I mean, a wild brown's aggressive, but
Yeah.
there's something about a brook trout, man. They get a little fire underneath them. They like to go.
Yeah, they do. They do. I think it's because they thrive in that colder water. I think that
Yep.
really,
Oh yeah.
that really
Yeah,
helps them.
they're the one fish in the heat. You gotta be careful.
Oh yeah.
I'd have to say the brook trout in the heat. That's your one. If they had to pick one,
Hmm.
I'd say the brook trout are probably your number one in the heat. You
Yeah.
gotta be careful with them.
I would
They don't like it.
I would agree with you 100%. Unfortunately, that is the case. They're a very fickle fish, as fickle as the trout already is. I mean, it's super finicky to play with, and you have to be careful if you're going to catch and release. But, I will say the rainbows and the browns are much tougher fish, and even the browns seem to do better in warmer water. And what I've found is, of course, your mountainsides. That's where you're going to catch your brook trout. That's where the water's colder. That's your limestone streams, your underground springs, and you're on mountain trout. When you get in these valleys, that's where I find the browns at lower elevations, right? And not saying that I don't find the browns up in the higher elevations. I just don't find as many of them. And whatever
Totally correct.
right, whatever that reason is, I don't know. But at the same time, if there was a whole bunch of browns in the stream, I don't think that you're going to catch too many brook trout in there because the browns they'll wreak havoc on them. They'll eat the shit out of them. But
they're very aggressive.
They are. I've seen some pretty wild stuff from brown trout.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're cool, man.
We've had some stories down here. We've seen it happen where they throw in stocked fish, and you'll see big male wilds come out and chase them right when they get thrown in the water. It's pretty cool to see. But
they are one of a kind. And I've actually talked to some older gentlemen that have taught me that I can't think of the actual term for the nest that they'll lay the eggs in. I think it's called is a reed or a red or something like that. But I know
and they're reds.
they're reds. Yeah, that's it. And they will, if the brook trout has one there, the brown trout will come in and they'll knock it right out of there. They'll make their own.
The brown trout are very, very protective of their reds. I mean, I don't know if you ever seen a mother goose on her eggs. We just had it happen last weekend. We were fishing a stream, and we're fishing and we're walking down, and there's a mother goose sitting right there. Both of us interactions with mother gooses don't go too well.
Right.
This one, she didn't even move. We got to meter the computer away, and she was just protecting her eggs. And the browns are the same way. Yeah. Anything comes near, they're going after it, and they're eating it. They're drilling it.
Right. Yeah, I think sometimes they just strike to kill too. I've seen that numerous times. Like they don't want to eat it; they'll just strike it to kill. Especially like I've witnessed that using live minnows for bait and stuff like that.
Yeah, they're definitely territorial, I'd say.
Yeah,
they've got their territory.
They do. They really do. Let's go down the road of what's you guys' favorite fly? Do you have a favorite fly? Or maybe not even fly, maybe just tackle. Not all the times does it call for flies. You could be using streamers. You could be using live bait like a minnow or, wax worms, cadius worm. Maybe you have live stonefly nymphs because, there's not too much better than that in a stream.
Yeah. We're definitely big like nymph guys. Nymphs, midges. We use traditional like pheasant tails, hare's ears, stuff like that. Pretty small too. We don't go usually much smaller than 16 most of the time. And we usually do tandem rigs. We usually put bigger one on top, smaller on the bottom. Usually running like black WD-40s, black zebra midges.
Nice.
Really, you can always tell, but just by picking up stones too. Like we just started doing that more and more, and it works. You just gotta kind of know what flies are what, and just kind of go from there.
Yeah, that's the beauty of fishing. Get out there as often as you can because when you get older and you get a family, I can attest that it's a lot harder to get out there. So do it as much as you can now. And
7 a.m. tomorrow, we're waking up and going. So.
Yeah, very good, man. And I try to preach this to some guys. I had a lot of fun when I was younger, 21, 22, 23. You want to go out boozing and running around and howling at the moon and all that stuff. But, I swear to you, I would take most of that back to be able to wake up at 4 a.m. and go fishing and go hunting and stuff. And I did that. It's hard to burn the candle at both ends trying to, appease both crowds. But I don't know, man. There's just something about the wild that just can't be beat. No.
Yeah,
I
I
wish
agree.
I wish more people could see that.
Yeah, if you could bottle up that feeling when you catch just a giant
Yeah.
fish, or even like deer hunting when a big buck walks out and you just start shaking, you could bottle that up, be a millionaire.
Yeah.
Personally, I
Yeah.
mean, there's no better feeling.
True, but at the same time, I think why we love it so much is because it's so freaking hard, and when you do hard shit, you get great rewards. So,
Yep.
Oh yeah,
you know,
man, nothing wrong with the challenge.
right, absolutely. So, yeah, I think just to touch on what my favorite bait may or may not be. I find that I catch the most trout on if I'm willing to use a minnow, in a stream. Live minnow. That is, I've tried
Yep.
the salted stuff and the fake and all that, and it works okay, but it's not the same. But to me, I think that the mayfly nymph is. I think that's the best thing that you can use for trout in a stream, especially when they're feeding. You just can't keep them
Hmm.
Yeah.
on. But what do you do with changing water conditions? Sometimes you have low water, sometimes you have high, heavy, fast water, and then other times the weather happens, right? So you have colder weather, you have warmer weather, and then you have rain, right? Snow
Hmm.
changes things, ice changes things, rain changes things. So when you have a changing weather condition, what do you guys look to do, right? You have low water, or you guys even fishing? You have heavy, fast water, right? It just rained. Maybe it's milky, right? Maybe you got some chocolate milk out there. Like, do you have anything that you guys feel like you're doing different than somebody else, or something that somebody taught you down the line that you guys are practicing?
Yeah, I could probably talk about this one a little bit. Talking about, we start at lower water. Lower water, personally, as if someone who's fishing, you know when it's too low.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You walk out to a run that maybe you fished a stream before. You walk out to a run and you know it's 3 feet deep, and you're like, oh my God, it's 8 inches deep.
Yeah.
Probably should not be fishing the water. These
Yep.
fish go into stress. It's very hard for them to, and you start throwing stuff on it, it gets them even more stressed out. That's when bad things happen to streams. But on another point, whenever it rains and we get that high, milky water, sometimes we like fishing that. A lot of guys shy away from it. They get nervous. I don't recommend walking out to your hips, but walk out to, a comfortable spot.
Mhm.
Sometimes they're in those soft sides because they
Mhm.
can't swim in like the heavy currents, so they'll come over to the soft. And sometimes, I mean, we've had great days in milky, heavy, coming down hard water.
Yep.
Yep.
And we're not in the water far, but we're fishing the soft seams, and the fish like to sit there and they're feeding because the water, the bottom's getting stirred up. But personally, my favorite, and Ben will probably second this, favorite water condition would have to be when the water just has that little tint of green.
Yeah.
It's just got that little mineral to it.
Mhm.
That's when the fishing's lights out.
Yep.
Rainbows, brook trout, browns, you name it. That's my kind of water. It has that little tint. That's when I'm waking up before everybody else, and I guarantee you we'll be on the water before you.
Yeah, just like that was like he just said. Last Sunday that happened. It rained that Saturday, and we went out. When did we get up? 4:30.
Yeah, we got up early.
Got up at 4:30 and went to a stream up in Slatington, and that's when I ended up catching that 27-inch rainbow. So
Yeah.
that definitely I would second the like the day after it rains with that emerald tint. That's what you want.
Yeah. I agree 100%. Like, it's supposed to just trickle around here tonight, and
Yep.
streams are a little bit low, but I know of a stream that
Yeah.
doesn't get very low for one reason or another. And after the little bit of rain like this, it's like shooting fish in a barrel.
Yep. Yeah.
I
That's
already
when they
know.
start feeding.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I already know what I'm gonna get into. So,
Yeah, I think another reason, talking about how you just said the streams are low, I mean, we didn't have the snow melt this year like we did years prior,
yeah, you make a
and
good
that
point.
changed things big time. So when we get rain, we need rain.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like right now, personally, the streams aren't hurting, but they're not where they should be for this time of year. We don't have that snow melt, and we don't have heavy downpours coming in. We need like one day of this hardcore rain,
Yeah.
so the streams just get a little bit up. But they're still fishing good, like we said earlier in the episode. Like it's still good fishing. It's cold at night, so the stream's cold. So
Yeah, you make a good point. I have found that other than like right after rain, like you said, when it's not chocolate milk. I've caught them in chocolate milk, and I've also heard people say things like use certain colors, right? I think everybody's heard the tell old, use lighter colors, chrome-like colors for bead and stuff whenever it's uh, clear, and then bronze-like colors whenever it's milkier. Um, I've heard a whole bunch of different things. I don't know how much stake to put into that stuff because if they're biting, as long as the presentation's there,
Yep.
you know, they'll
Yeah.
they'll definitely go after whatever you got. But um, you guys have been fishing, since you were knee high to a grasshopper, and I told you what you'll probably find from doing this episode and this show is you might have people reach out to you, and usually the people that reach out to me are people that are wanting to learn, right? And that's why a lot of
Yep.
people listen to these podcasts. So, what are some of the advices that you would give to guys that are just getting into fishing? Okay, it's kind of hard to just touch on fly fishing because we all got to start somewhere, and sometimes maybe hey, you're an unwritten book, and just jump right into to swinging the line around, or hey, sometimes spin fishing is better off for some people. It all depends on how much time they have and what they got going on. So if you
Yeah.
guys could just touch on what you would give as far as advices and how to go about starting up.
Yeah, we actually get this a frequent amount. Like I said, we both are up at school, and we actually both work at Cabela's. He's in the fly shop, and I'm out in the fishing department, out on the floor. So we get this situation a lot. It really depends on has that person ever fished before, and if they haven't, I would usually lead them more towards spinning, just because that's kind of a good, easy starter go-to. But for fly fishing, if that was what they were going to go for, I would definitely say the hardest thing that you probably have to get down is casting. Do it in your yard. That's what we always say. Practice in your yard without any flies or leader on there. And once you get that down, then that's when you're going to start to enjoy it more when you go out.
Yeah, you make a good point. It's something that you need to be patient with, though, right?
Yep.
And that's why it's so rewarding. And it's harder. Okay, let's face it. There's not just a spinning reel on there, and you can't just turn the handle and bring the line in.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of practice that comes with that. And where I would say is open water. Get out on open
Yep.
water first, and then you can
even like a pond or a lake.
right. Yeah.
Open around them.
Yeah, a farmer's pond, or
Yep.
go knock on some guy's door and say, hey, I see you have a pond down there. Maybe he doesn't even have any trout in there, but there might be some some panfish.
It's all about getting your foot in the door.
Right.
Trying the sport. There's very few people I talk to that say, wow, I just tried fishing and I hate it. There's a lot of people I talk to that are like, dude, this is awesome. I love it.
Yep.
Yeah.
From catching sunnies to 20-inch wild browns. People, they love it. So,
Yeah, we are very blessed here in this state. We have some of the best waters for trout in the entire country. I would put us in the top 5, top 6 category personally.
Mm-hmm.
I thoroughly agree.
I think that our fish commission does about the best job that they can do with the funding and stuff that they have. I believe personally, if we had a combined system for wildlife instead of 2 split entities, I think that they might have more resources and actually be able to even elevate it higher or further than it is now. And I also lean on DEP, EPA, or whoever to help clean up mine runoff. Yeah, maybe it's not their responsibility or whoever, but if it ain't them, whoever else, I don't know. There's other organizations out there and stuff that do help clean up water, but I feel like that's something we should really be focusing on, because there's probably 4 streams around my house here. They would be absolute killer streams. The one looks like it's made out of a snake. And that's what I'm looking for. All right? That sucker wants to bend like that. I want to fish it. Unfortunately, it's a sulfur creek, and God bless all the coal miners and stuff, because I have a lot of coal miner and family, and I may not even be around without the coal mines, to be honest. Is
Yeah.
just where my heritage lies. But you know, we got to clean up some of the old stuff that happened, some of the runoff that come out, and
Yep.
that's what I would like to see happen. But
That's even, it could even be on the fishermen too, not at that big of a scale,
right,
but
right,
if you pass a bunch of line in the stream, pick it up.
yep,
Same with trash and garbage and stuff like that. I know the other day I was talking to somebody and they were saying that they bring a backpack with them and they fill it up with trash and stuff like that whenever they go fishing. And I think if more people did that, then it might help kind of conserve the creek a little bit
yeah.
too.
Yep, you make a great point. I actually take a backpack with me, and I'll clean up trash as I move through the stream. And I'm all for you guys taking, guys having a beer on the stream, or a cup of coffee or a Mountain Dew or whatever. But if we're gonna carry that stuff in, we got to bring that stuff back out with us.
Yep.
Fishermen have a really bad, really
Yes.
really bad
Yep.
reputation of loitering or littering and. Actually, I would say, yeah, loitering too, loitering in the same spot, which kind of annoys me for some reason. But
Oh yeah.
they don't do a very good job of cleaning up, and it's
No.
unfortunate. But at the same time, we can pick up the slack.
Yep.
That's
for sure.
that's how we lose access. That is the quickest way to lose access. A lot of the waters here in Pennsylvania are on private ground.
Yep.
So, we got to make sure we're doing our part to help people that own it clean up, or we're gonna lose access, and we sure as hell don't want to see that, because I know 3 or 4 of my best spots are on private ground. So,
Mhm.
I want to jump into some of the most memorable moments that you guys have fishing, and that can be together. That can be, I would say I love fishing together with my friends and family. I think that the hardest thing is you have to be far apart to fish, where you're doing your own thing, but at the same time, if the water's quiet enough, you like to be able to chat back and forth, right? So it's hard to fish with a buddy, but at the same time, it's like, hey, I'm killing them down here, or look at this big bastard I just pulled out of there, right? Or hey, net that thing, because we all know how it's, you got one hand up here, and it's like, man, I wish I had that go gadget arm to net that sumbitch, but yeah, it's so. Just touch on some of the stories, man. Give me a couple memorable moments. Like when you hear that memorable moment, it's like, that's the time I remember.
Yeah, I think we can do like Ben can say one, I can say one, we can say the one that we have together then too. Like
Yeah,
we can
that's
talk
perfect.
about them. So.
Well, we don't really spend much time without each other fishing. Like every time we go, it's usually together.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a rare instance when we're out by ourselves or something like that. So we're usually a buddy system, and it's usually safer that way. But probably one story that I have, I think, what one is our freshman or sophomore year of high school? He had caught this big palomino, and I went in to net it, and it ended up taking both of us to hold it like this. And I just ran past the picture the other day of both of us standing in like knee high in water, holding the palomino with this, and it's flopping in both of our hands. So it's little memories like that that you kind of go past, and that's kind of what it's all about.
Yeah, I agree. What do you think, Eddie?
Yeah, talking about me and Ben fishing. I remember the first time I took Ben up to my cabin, and the first time he ever caught his first ever Pennsylvania trout, and it was just awesome. We were, from that moment on, we said, dude, let's rock, let's take it away with it. And ever since then, we love the sport, we love doing it, and like I said, it's very rare we don't go without each other. Just safety reasons, we like to wade in the water.
Yep.
God forbid something ever happened.
Yep.
But also, pictures are a big thing anymore with social media.
Yeah, right.
Need your camera guy, but net job, all that kind of stuff. Just we like going together, spend that time. There's we are in school. It's stressful being in school, so when we can get out and just kick back and catch some fish, it's awesome. But another memory too is, like I said, I have a lot of people that have taught me a lot of things about hunting and fishing. I got so many people on my mind right now. My grandparents, like my grandfathers. I remember the first time my grandfather Carl took me fly fishing. We went up to his private fly fishing club up in Blakesley, Pennsylvania. We went up, and I have so remember to this day. He gave me a fly rod, one of his. I had on my waders. He put on a woolly bugger, and he said, "Cash right there." I threw it in, bang, caught one, fell in love with the sport ever since. Took off with it. And then 2.5, 3 years ago, my buddy Tom Spray, he introduced me to this guy named Keith Gardner, and Keith has taught us the ropes, man. This guy is the most unbelievable fly fisherman I ever met in my life. Like I said, he guides around the valley, guides in Jersey. And Tom said, "Eddie, dude, like I met Tom on the stream from my one buddy Caden, and Tom said, you got to meet this guy. You got to." And he took me underneath his wing really big and showed me the ropes. I mean, when I first started fly fishing, I had woolly buggers, I had flies that were size 12, and this guy's like, "Hang on now, buddy. Here's a size 20." And it changed the world. And it's people like that you just thank so much for teaching you things and showing you the ways, and especially when it's family members like your grandparents going out with you. I mean,
Yep.
it's just something special for sure when you make those memories. And like my grandfather's 86 years old, and me and Ben, we still take him, and he's just got a smile on his face the whole time, and that means a lot to you because he showed you. And he might not get around the same, but it's something special to get out in the water with the ones you love and enjoying the outdoors.
So when you do take your grandfather, my question for you is, how much fishing does he do, or how much watching does he like to do you?
That's funny you say that. Recently, we've been taking him out, and he's a diehard streamer. Like, he loves his streamers. Like, I'm like, "Carl, man," that's what I call him. He's my mom's mom's husband, but their parents got divorced. So I call him Carl, but he's really my grandfather. Mm-hmm. So my grandfather Carl, he is diehard streamer. I'm like, "Carl, man, try out the nymph." No. This guy is religious to the streamer, and he rips them out. But there's sometimes the streamer, it ain't working. So he'll pop a squat on a rock, and he'll watch us go at it, and he loves it. He loves watching us catch fish. Yeah. I mean, laughing, cracking jokes, just having a good time. It's what it's all about. We love this. We love taking them out because, it's hard for him to get out. Put him in the truck. We say, let's go, and put him on some fish, and, man, he has a ball.
Yeah. I think that what you'll find whenever you get older, or you guys have a family, or whatever the plan is even if you had a pupil and you're the mentor, is he's just sitting back reaping the benefits of his labor. You get to see what you put out there and what you created, and that's sometimes it's better to just watch that happen.
Yeah.
But you guys you're both really lucky that you had the mentor and the people that were available and ready to show you, right, how to do this stuff. And we have to.
Yeah, we were self-taught for the longest time, and then we started really getting into it, and then we just had a couple people come in, say, "Hey, try this and this," and then we'd go and try it, and we put our own little twist on it. Like, for example, some flies, some people might tie them full brown body. Okay, full brown body, and they use all brown thread. Well, I'll put a brown body on it. Maybe I'll put black thread on it. Changes the world, It's just the little things and what you use them and what people are teaching you.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's kind of insane that a fish, right? This dumb thing that sometimes you can just get in a net can be so precise on the way that something is presented to them. Whether your fly hits the water like this, or it hits the water like this, you know what I mean? Or just like you said, the little nuances of black and brown string instead of white or whatever that would be.
Yeah, that's like the guy I was just talking about, Keith. We were out fishing with him. I'm like, "Hey man, what are you putting on?" He's like, "A size 26." And I'm like, "Are you out of your mind? Like, that is tiny."
Minuscule.
2 casts later, on. And you got to think to yourself, how in the heck does this fish see this little thing coming through the water? You'd be surprised.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's wild.
But it's so, and Ben could say this too. We got into fly tying, and Marcus, when you catch your own fish on your own fly, you catch a fish on your own fly. I mean, oh, there's nothing like it. You put in the time and the effort to make it exactly how you want. You're sitting there with your hand, and it's starting to hurt, and you get the fly exactly how you want it. And some of Ben's biggest fish this year have been on his own flies, and it's so cool.
Yeah,
It's
that's
definitely one of the coolest things.
that's awesome. I can't think of many things much cooler than that. And I'd say down the road or something like that, I'll definitely try um, to tie my own flies. But
Yeah, you should, man.
we'll see how it goes.
It's definitely worth it.
It's busy as it is, but hopefully I find time and I can learn how to tie flies. And
Yeah.
I will, man. I have my feet in so many fires, and I love the traditional side of things. And I know it won't be long for me to pick up a trad bow here too, and get on that journey. I have a lot of guys beating me down here. They're ready for, their arms are open and they're ready for me to join the dark side, if you will. So
yeah. Come on over.
yep. So I'm well on the way. But speaking of different things used for one trade, do you guys have any type of gear that you recommend? I'm not a huge gear head, but sometimes a little bit different gear can help. And do you guys have anything that you usually point anybody in a certain direction to? Because I know you've probably used a lot of different things.
Yeah, one of the things like we kind of touched on earlier with that, when you're extending long back with your fly rod, it's kind of a pain when you have little tiny stubby handled nets. We actually started using a net. It's probably got a 2.5 foot handle on it.
Nice.
Sold at Cabela's, and you can really extend far out when you got your rod all the way back, and it kind of makes it a lot easier to land, especially bigger fish, with something like that when it's got a little bit of a longer handle.
Yeah, that's cool. You make a really good point. Some people might not think of small little nuances like that.
Yeah.
What my buddy told me one time was he brings a real heavy towel, right? And he wraps his wading boots in this real heavy towel that he has at the end of the day. That way when he leaves them in the back of the truck and we get a frost, they don't freeze in there.
Yeah, that's
And
smart.
I never really thought of that. And I said, really, just that? He
That's a
said,
really good idea.
yep. He said, the towel's so thick, just keeps just enough of that air out of there to keep them from crusting up and getting all hard and frozen up.
Yeah, I mean, I know one little silly thing like that. We've been through phones like there's no tomorrow. Our parents, they're not too happy when we go fishing. We have waterproof cases now, but a sandwich bag on the phone is your best friend for anybody out there who's maybe putting their phone in the water one too many times. A sandwich bag in the waders, it's a good thing. But talking about gear on that point, people are afraid. I work in the fly shop at Cabela's. People are afraid of the big rods. They're afraid of the 10-footers, the 11-footers. Those 10 foots, 11 foots are what land the fish.
Right.
Because you got that short rod and you're maybe running that 6X tippet, which is only about 2.4 pound test. You got that short rod, that fish is pulling. You don't got that bend really that's coming off. It's breaking. We use 10-foot rods, and that's one reason why we land such big fish too, because we have that so much length and you have so much of a bend at the top of the rod that we can run that lighter tippet. We can run that certain line, and you can almost horse them because you got so much rod that it's way more beneficial.
Yeah.
So I always tell people, don't be afraid to, if you can fit it. I know some people, you go up like north in the Poconos, you ain't getting a 10-foot rod
Right.
with some of those.
Understood. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like an 8-foot, even I just sold a 7-foot two weight the other day. I was like, holy crap, like, this dude's going for native brookies. And but if you can get a big rod in there, that's your go-to.
Yeah.
But
I will agree with you on that 100%. Any day of the week. Not only are you able to land fish in a better manner, you are able to get it out there further if you need to.
Yep.
A bigger rod will get you more length. It will get you out there further. You just have a lot more you're working with. And you're right.
Yeah.
I don't know why guys shy away from that rod. Now, like you said, yeah, you're not going into mountain laurel or the honeysuckle with a 11-foot. And if you are, sure, let us come watch and we can laugh for a while. And you know what I mean?
yeah.
But yeah, you guys make that. Those are really great points, and those are the little things that you look for, especially when you're talking to other guys and and they kind of have that in their hip pocket, and they're waiting to share something like that with you, and you kind of stand back and you're like, damn,
Yeah.
yeah. You know, when you catch something like that, you know,
Yeah, for sure.
that's something that I can get done.
One other good thing that I'd probably say is probably a decent pair of polarized sunglasses. Is one, it makes it easier for walking in the water, and two, you can see basically anything
Yep.
in that water.
Yep.
Makes it a lot easier.
Yeah. Definitely helps with the safety aspect. You know,
Yep.
stepping on a log, rolling over or something, and next thing you know, you're cold water. You're the cold water express, or you're filled
Yeah,
up with
you're
water.
miserable the rest of the day because you're wet from the waist down.
Yeah. I know that wet feet have never stopped me, but they're definitely miserable. And
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we've been swimming in waders before, so some fish they're that big, and he had one on the one time, and he's sitting there. He's like, "Oh my god, it's huge!" I ran out. Well, I didn't have one of my sunglasses, and I fell right in the water. Waders are filling up. We've still netted it, but it's that's what it's all about.
it
so.
is, man. It is really what it's all about, and I love it. I love being part of it. You know, there's a lot changing within the culture of fishing, whether it's fly fishing or you know, whatever type of fishing people are doing. And this show is for the aspect of trout. But do you think that right now there's anything as far as technology concerned that is too much, something that could help more? How do you feel about technology aspect as when it comes to on the water?
I think technology has taken over the sport in a good way.
Okay.
You look at a fly reel from 1980, and you look at a Lamson Guru right now, fresh off the shelf. There's no comparison. These reels, the rods, everything is made very well. Now, of course, you got your cheaper end stuff. If you're a beginner, you buy your cheaper end stuff. You get up higher in the Fenwicks, the Atoses, the Thomas and Thomas rods, and you're talking $800 rods, the technology is there. The fiberglass rods, it's cool. There's so much to it, and I don't think the sport would be at where it's at today. I don't think there'd be as many people doing it if we didn't have such great technology.
Yeah. I think you make a good point. I don't think that there's anything in the fly fishing aspect. You know, I want to go as far as saying in the trout fishing world that is
Yeah.
like super. You know, this is going to help you be much better than the other guy beside you. You know, when you're talking about some other fish, certain fish finders and stuff, and different lakes
Yep.
and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think talking about that, I think that's come a little bit far. I think that's a little like I forget what it's called. The bass fishermen use it. Oh man, it's
Was it like live scope?
yeah, those live scopes. I mean, might as well just stick your head underneath the water with a pair of sunglasses and start looking around. As far as I'm concerned, I
Yeah.
mean, that's that part of technology. The fly fishing part, I think the technology is great. Fish finders, I think it's cool, so you're not wasting your time. But at the same time, me personally, we were talking about it earlier, I like a challenge. I want to jump on the boat. I want to go out. I want to fish. If I'm not catching them, okay, I'm going to move. I'm not going to sit there on my fish finder with my head glued to it trying to figure out where they're at. I mean, I think it's neat. Like ice fishing, they got like the fish finders and stuff. But those like live scopes, I mean, that's just talk about fishing out of a barrel. Oh my gosh.
Right. Right. I enjoy watching some of the videos for like the walleye guys out on the water.
Yeah.
I think it's so cool, like the technology. Like,
Right.
don't get me wrong, I'm not bashing it. I
Right.
think it's so cool. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know.
It's
I like,
almost cheating in a sense.
yeah, I like going out
I
there
agree.
and freaking hooking them myself, not my live scope catching the fish.
Yeah. I have to agree. I don't like the word cheating. I don't know. Like as long as it's legal, then I don't know that it's cheating.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it is
It's assistance, legal
right.
assistance.
Right. You know, like I was saying before, I feel like fly fishing and like maybe like traditional archery kind of go hand in hand with each other. There's not many shortcuts you can take, right? It's like you don't go to the gym and just hang out and come out fit, right? You got
Yeah, you don't
to
come out with a rock hard 6-pack of abs from sitting there going, "Hey, buddy, how's your workout going?"
right. So you got to put in the work, and
Yeah.
I feel like that's why those two coincide very well. There's lots of
Yeah, I know.
practice. There's lots of little nuances that you like
Yeah.
that you get and it's
Yeah, I think just talking about like hunting there. I think it goes hand in hand with fishing. Like the live scope, it's almost like I'm baiting deer. You know what I mean? Like it's. I don't like doing it. I mean, it's illegal in Pennsylvania. I hope no one does it, but I just it's just not the same. When you put in your time, like for deer hunting, you put in your time. You find out where they're at, what time they're coming and feeding, what time they're on this trail, and then it pays off. I think it's the same thing with bass fishing or even trout fishing. We know some streams. Okay, I know if I go up this time at 8 a.m., I know I'm not catching anything. I wait a half hour, I'm gonna hit them,
Yep.
and that's putting in your time. Like we used to keep it inside our phones. We used to keep like water temp, water outside, what we used, and you put in that time, and then it all pays off, and it's so rewarding. I mean, I've caught two 20-inch wild browns this year that I know, like I know the fish, and it's so cool when other people are sitting there and they're throwing, not catching it. I walk in, boom, I catch it because I put in my time. I know the fish, and a trophy fish, but you know them, and that's what I think is so rewarding. But at the same time, with technology, I think it is very cool how you can do that. But personally, as we are, for as young as we are, we like the old-fashioned way. Put in your time, it pays off.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's why you like it. You guys have already learned that, and you've already established that the more time you
Yeah.
put in, the better that your results are. Um, you know, what do you guys think about trout populations? I know that you guys have been fishing for a while, but trout populations, size, and the quality of what you're catching, and then we'll get into maybe some things that we would like to see change or stay the same here in our great state.
Well, I know around here, at least in the Lehigh Valley, there's been a few droughts past few years. So that kind of hurts. Well, obviously it hurts the wild population and stuff like that, even stockfish. But we're just now kind of starting to see them coming back. You're catching more and more wild fish. They're of like decent quality. Um, we're even starting to see some nicer rainbows that almost seem to have kind of like a wild look to them. Now that doesn't mean that they are wild. They just might be getting colored up in the hatcheries and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
I would definitely say that the wild fish are starting to make a comeback in the Lehigh Valley with the droughts. In the
Yeah,
past.
that's like the little Lehigh got low that one year, and it got real low, and it's finally coming back. Like the Browns are finally coming back. It's finally good fishing. But personally, we both talked about this. We fish a lot of state streams that are state stock. Sometimes the state puts in the minimum size. They put in the 8 inchers.
Right.
Us personally, I mean, they're in there to keep. They're in there to release. You want to keep them? That's great.
Right.
Go right ahead.
Yep.
Eat them, of course. I know some dudes, they'll throw them in their freezer 7 months later. Oh,
Right.
well, I forgot that thing's in there.
Yeah.
But I think if you're going to keep them, I think they should bump up the legal size. Because I think it should be, personally, I think it should be 12. I think it should be 12 inches. Because you're talking about a fish that's maybe got a little more meat on its bones. You're trying to, some people are catching fish to feed their family. I'm all for it. And 8-inch fish, I mean, you maybe got 2 bites out of it.
There was that guy at your cabin. He had like a 6-inch
Yeah, he had a
brook trout
6-inch brook trout on. The thing was probably native. And I was like, brother, I mean, what are you going to do with that? You going to
You can put it in a
make it
sardine.
into a French fry?
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing with
He's
it?
gonna put it in a sardine can with some mustard.
Something. I think he was going to make a French fry. I don't think he was even making anything worthwhile.
Yeah, I would agree with you. That would be cool. I would be down with that.
It's the same thing with deer hunting. Like deer hunting, they put the 3 on one side.
Right.
Think about how many. I mean, I know you said you're deer hunting. Think about how many more trophy deer you see.
Oh, yeah.
If they bumped up the legal size to 12, you'll see maybe some more trophy fish.
I think you make a great point. I think you make something that should be looked at. You would have to talk with the biologist on what the reasoning is behind the way it is now, because I don't know. I actually remember. I don't even know if you guys are old enough to remember this, but you used to keep 8 trout. It was 8.
Yeah. My dad talks about it all the time. He says because if you still buy a stringer, it still has 8.
Yeah. Yeah. Some of them do. Some of them have 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. it was wild, man. The times were wild. I can attest to it. We ate them all when we were younger and stuff, and I can just remember the amount. Oh
I
my
mean,
God, the
eight,
amount of
eight
trout.
20 inches on a freaking stringer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's talk about some weight.
yeah. We would help stock and stuff, and
Yeah.
boy, I can tell you, I remember. You should have seen some of these stock trucks. I mean, I don't know what's on them now, as far as how many fish, but I can tell you the amount of fish that used to come off a stock truck would blow your mind. Like
Yeah.
insane amounts. You're talking, nowadays I help stock and we'll put, 2 buckets in here, 2 buckets in here, 3 buckets
Yeah.
in here, right? And you might see a total of like 15 buckets to 18
Yep.
buckets. You would see 10 to 15 buckets going in each spot. It was wild, man.
Yeah, not just one spot, the whole
Right.
freaking stretch they did.
Right.
Yeah, that's a great point you just made. I think one big thing is even at my cabin, like the state doesn't just have the fish. The price of things, the market,
Yeah,
the
that's what it
economy
is.
is so high right now. It's not like people aren't buying the licenses. I think it's just hard right now. I think COVID took a big toll on fishing with like the fish and getting them inside the streams and the quality and the numbers. But at the same time, I don't know about you where you're at, down where you are, but here, ever since COVID, the sport has lifted off. People picked it up more. So I think you give it another 2 to 3 years, I think it might come back to that honestly, because the state's they're grabbing money now. They're grabbing a lot. There's a lot of people that are getting into the sport because in COVID, we were sitting how we are right now.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Nothing. And now people are picking up the sport because they picked it up during COVID, and then now I think they're going to get back to it. I hope so, because local stream here, we call it the honey hole. Usually gets about 12 buckets. It got 4 this year, and we were like, okay, something's wrong. But once again, price is increased greatly. A 20-inch fish costs the state almost $120. So you're talking that's a lot of money with.
Well,
throwing them in.
I think that they could help their cause a little bit by being a little more transparent when it comes to telling
Yeah.
people and making sure they understand, like we were talking about before we come on, there's a reason why there's not many brook trout being stocked.
Yep.
There's a reason why you're seeing a lot of rainbows. I mean, almost all rainbows. You're going to see some brown trout stock, but, even they take longer to grow than your rainbows are
Yeah.
growing. And
Yeah, people think that they just grow like that.
right.
There's a lot of time, a lot of studies, a lot of science that goes into raising healthy, good-looking fish, and
Yeah. Yeah, it's like I said, transparency I think would go a long way with them. They show up and they want to act like they're putting on a lot of fish and a lot of big fish, but the people aren't blind. They're watching the buckets go in the water, and they know that there can't be more than 50 trout in that bucket, right? And when you go and put 6 buckets in, and you look at everybody and say, "Hey, we put 1,000 fish in." Well, how, right? And
yeah, I think we have some of the best fishing, like you said, in the country.
yeah,
As
Yep.
far as I'm concerned,
We will-
there's wild browns that I catch.
Yep.
That look like they just fell out of Montana,
yeah,
and I think they could do a little bit better. But at the same time, COVID smacked everyone in the jaw.
yeah.
And I think it will come back. I think
Mm-hmm.
there's definitely a lot of volunteer help, which is cool. I'm sure when you go stocking, it seems like a lot of people are getting out. They want to help. They want to see the fish.
Yeah.
So I think it might pick back up. I hope.
Right, and for anybody listening who sits in their truck and writes down telephone pole numbers and watches us stalk the streams, I'm coming for you, mother. I know who you are, and I'm watching you, and you're not.
We know your vehicle.
We know what
and you
vehicle
show
you're
up.
in, and I'm telling you, I see that too often, to be honest. But
Yeah.
like I said, to each is their own. I just like to put that out on the air and tell you, we know who you are. But
Yeah, we know you are. We see when you walk away with your stringer. I know you saw them all go in.
Yeah.
We know who you are. But
Yeah.
at the same time, hey, they're doing their studies, I guess.
like I said, I'll tip my hat to the Pennsylvania Fish Commission, the Fish and Boat. I think that they do well with what they have. I usually have great conversations and good run-ins with those guys.
Friendly as anything. They,
Yeah. Yep. And
They love seeing people out.
Yep. I'm glad they protect the waters the way they do, and
Yep.
keep it up, because I know two of them listening to the show here, so they know who they are, and we thank them. They do what they can.
Yeah, they do the best they can. I know a lot of people who want to be them, and I tell them all the time, like, do it, man. You know, they're in need. They're
Yeah.
just like law enforcement and educators. You know, they're in need. Fish Commission is in need, and I think it's a great job. We were gonna do it too. It's something that's in need, but the people are so friendly. They love watching you fish. They're not out to get you. They're out to make sure you're doing it right.
That's
you know?
right. That's right. Yeah, you're not scared unless you shouldn't be scared unless you're doing something wrong.
Yeah,
So
unless you're doing something wrong, then worry about the guy in the green suit sewing up. Other than that, you're all right.
read your damn fish regulations, and it'll be
Yeah,
fine.
I
And,
understand what you're
Yep.
fishing.
yeah. So, with that, guys, I think you guys had a great session with me here on the show. I gladly and greatly appreciate you coming through, coming to me live here the whole way from the Lehigh, and you know, uh, want to leave with, um, let's do. If you guys could pick together, now you have to pick 3 guys together, right? These could be any people that you know, people that you've seen, or people that you know of. I want you guys to take three people fishing with you. They could be people you know, people that you're, acquainted with, people that you're not acquainted with, maybe somebody who you just, hey, I think that guy'd be great to fish with, right?
That's a good question.
Out of
man.
anybody?
Yeah, anybody you can think of.
Oh man, that's a really good question, man. You got a stump there.
Yeah,
I mean, there's some pro guys, but like we had to talk. I think. I mean, of course, our buddies. Our buddies are our number one go-to. We had to pick. If we can group it into one real quick, our buddies.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing better than fishing with our friends.
There you go.
You know, it's something about it. It's special. But if we had to pick people, man, I don't even know. Probably someone on Team USA fly fishing.
Pretty
Joe
cool.
Humphreys.
Joe Humphreys. I'd love to go on a fishing trip with that guy
Yeah,
and just watch.
I do. He
Uh,
doesn't live too far from here.
Yep.
No, he's right out. He's right out near State College area. But
There's lots of them,
One
and
more.
one more.
yeah. If you can think of one, it's not the end of the world if you can't. Usually, guys appreciate that because it gets them into their head. But
Yeah.
Man, that's a heck of a question. I mean, there's a pro bass fisherman. I'd love to jump on boat with Scott Martin any day
Yep.
of the freaking week. But
Gonna say him
There
or
you
Bill
go.
Dance probably.
Bill Dance. I'd
Yeah.
love to jump on a boat with them dudes.
Yeah.
But I know there's some people. I mean, we're gonna put this on our Instagram. We're probably gonna put it on our personal social media.
Yeah.
Anybody ever wants to go, feel free to DM us.
Yeah.
We'll take anyone. We'll show you the ropes. Like
That's
I said,
awesome.
I know a couple people that guide. I got some buddies that fish just like us, great fishermen. And I tell you right now, there's not many times that we go out and we don't catch fish.
Yep.
So, I mean, if you want to learn how to fly fish, you want to learn how to do it, don't be afraid to DM us, DM Marcus about us, or even DM Marcus. I mean, I'm sure he'll take you out and
Oh, yeah.
show you the ropes too.
Yep. I do what I can on my side of things. My biggest thing that I push for is, I want to see the kids out doing it. I will gladly
Yep.
show any adult that wants help,
Yep.
as much that I know, and try to pass it to them. But
Yeah.
I'm the way I'm born and bred is the kids, man. That's the way, and that's
Yeah, it's the future generations, just like us. People took us underneath our wings. We were
Yeah.
every little bit of 13, 14. And another thing too, if you're near the Hamburg area, Cabela's, come up and say hi. You want to learn how to get into spin fishing, learn how to fly fish, we'll hook you up. We
Yeah.
got stuff you can't even imagine for beginners and experts. Everybody from I got kid fly rods. I got fly rods for dudes that are big timers. And I think, like you just said, I think the biggest thing is with technology, kids are glued to their phones, their iPads. Get them out.
Yep.
Get them out in the water. I mean, I can't tell you the last time I turned on an Xbox.
Yep.
So,
well.
Yeah. We just gotta keep the sport going.
yeah.
You do that stuff, and you know that you would be kicking yourself in the butt because you'd be going, man, I could be on the water right now. Man, I could be
Yeah.
in the woods right now, right? There's just
Yeah, you never know what you're gonna hook into. That's another thing too. You never know. You never know
Well,
what's in the bottom of that stream. It's
that
just like deer hunting. There's always a bigger one.
That and the one more cast. You know,
Yep.
there's times where I think my
We're
wife.
bad. We're bad with that, man. We'll still be fishing right now.
Right.
Here we're at, it's 9 o'clock. It's pitch black. I know my phone light out if I'm fishing after a certain fish.
I understand, man. I understand. You know
Yeah.
that one more cast, boy, has that got me into more trouble with my wife than
You
most
know,
things.
I think it gets us in trouble, but sometimes that one more. I mean, I remember the one. Well, if you go on our Instagram page, Ben caught the biggest rainbow of his life this past weekend. It was 27 inches, 16-inch girth, 10 pounds.
Yeah,
It
monster.
looked like it fell out of freaking Erie. He said, "Let me get one more cast axe." We were about to walk away. Everybody and their mother was standing next to us, ready to cast this fish, and we're standing there with my buddy Tom, like the Three Stooges, freaking whipping at this thing, getting it to eat. Ben asked me, he's like, "What should I do?" I told him what to put on. First cast, thunk, it was on. We needed that one more. Next thing I know, he's got the biggest fish of his life in his net, and it was neat. The thing was just a slob. It's just you're holding it, and the meat's curling over your hands. It was that one more cast sometimes could be the one.
Is that the one with the eggs coming out of it?
Yep.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, that was a big girl.
Yeah, I seen it. That was a hell of a picture. I noticed that right away. I said, "Son of a bitch, look at
Yeah. You watch some people online, they know how to hold the fish, but that one, they didn't know how to hold that one. That
No.
one, you could hug it and it would look big. So
Yeah, it's big.
But-
I seen the picture.
yeah,
But
thanks.
Yeah.
hey, before you guys go, man, I want you guys to promote your brand, right? Promote what you're doing on all social media, and where can everybody find you, and how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, so you can find us on Instagram. We started our Instagram page back in 8th or 9th grade. So we've had it for a little bit now, but it's just Lehigh Valley Fishing. I think it's Lehigh_Valley_fishing.
Yep.
That's us right there. Feel free to DM us any questions you ever want to get out. You ever want to learn how to fly fish, you ever want to learn how to spin fish, give us a DM. We'll bring you up to Cabela's, maybe hook you up. And like you said, we know people that are guides, professional guides.
Yep.
Like they have guide licenses to fly fish.
Yep.
Like we can hook you up with them. They're great people that we are comfortable putting other people with.
Yep.
You know what I mean? We never put anybody in harm's way.
Right.
And there are people that will show you how to catch fish. Even us, we can show you what you need to do, and if you want to learn, everyone's come out and talk, maybe learn a new spot. We'll show you maybe a little honey hole, but that's where you can find us on Instagram as of right now. But we're gonna try and get out a little bit more. But
Yeah, we've got guys who do drift boat tours down the Lehigh, so
Yeah.
we can kind of get all facets of information for people if they ever need it.
if we ever
So
want to reach out, but we really appreciate you asking us to be on this show.
Yeah,
As
absolutely.
two young anglers, we really like it, man. This is cool.
we appreciate it.
Yeah. You guys are welcome back every time, and you know, I do this thing like you guys will catch on to it here soon. I'll touch in with you here not too long and touch back on your season, and we'll see if we
Heck
can.
yeah, man. Even like, hey, we were just talking about it. You know, maybe we'll get back together sometime soon. We're going on our first ever turkey hunt next Saturday for Pennsylvania opener, and we never been. I mean, we're hardcore deer hunters,
Yep.
hardcore fishermen. We never been out for the turkeys yet, and everybody talks about when you hear that first gobble, you're gonna probably jump out of your skin because they're gonna be about 2 feet from you when you hear it. But people talk about it, so I think that'd be a cool episode. Maybe talk about our first time getting out, or maybe when we first shoot our first bird, we can get one on the ground.
Yeah, what my advice to you would be is
Yeah, you got any advice? You say you're a turkey guy.
I would
Marcus.
I'd tell you that on your first hunt, I would not be afraid to shoot a jake, which a jake is a smaller bird, and
Yeah, I think spring gobbler's only jakes, isn't it?
no. So a jake is a smaller bird, a first year bird, maybe even a second year bird, whereas your
So you're talking
gobbler,
about, it has a beard, but it's just not an older one.
right, age.
Gotcha,
Yeah,
okay.
it's a young
Okay.
it's a young bird.
Yeah. See, we're just figuring this out a little
That's
bit.
fine. It's fine. I will tell you this podcast has a great network of turkey hunters that have come through this show, and don't be afraid to reach out to them. They're very, very
man.
knowledgeable.
Anybody who knows turkey hunting who's listening to this right now and it's going before next Saturday, shoot me a DM. Shoot us a DM. Give us some pointers because we're going in with a slate call and a 12 gauge, and we're ready to rock, and that's it.
Yeah, you guys will do fine, man. Yeah, even
Yeah,
if you
man,
can
we
just
appreciate it. But like I was saying too, even like we may get like a deer one going on here. We got some deer stories that are
Yep.
crazy.
Yep,
So,
I'm not
but we
afraid.
really appreciate it, Marcus. This is cool, man.
I know where to find you guys, and I'm not afraid to reach
Yeah.
out to you. So, greatly appreciate you guys coming through. I'm very happy to have you and represent us more towards the eastern central part of the
Yeah.
state, and it's awesome, man. Thank you guys for coming through, and we'll get a hold of you here soon.
All right. Well,
Sounds
thank
good.
you.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
You have made it to the end of another episode of the Keystone Chronicles podcast. Lehigh Valley Fishing Boys. Ben and Eddie, thank you guys so much for coming through. Really appreciate you guys spending your time with me and sharing your experiences and stories. It means a lot to all the listeners out there. All the listeners, please, guys, you know the drill. Head on over to whatever platform you're listening to this on and show your love. Until next time, thank you. God bless. We'll see you soon.